I'm Chris,
I'm Peck.
I'm Petrie.
and welcome to the conversation today. Today's topic is about Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Not WWE ECW.
Oh no. Oh no.
This is the deal.
I want the crap you can get on a street corner at South Philadelphia, Swanson and Rittner Street. That's what I want.
Just thought about cheesesteaks when you said that.
Pat's or Geno's.
I don't know.
Which one has Cheese Whiz? Not that one.
I don't know. Rocky ate at Pat's, not at the non-flashy one. So.
True.
Just saying.
Just there. There we go.
Of course, the boys ate somewhere else other than those two, I believe. So.
Well, the interesting thing about ECW, it became like the, none of the other organizations will ever admit this because of, sales and all that, and, viewer base and advertising, that it wasn't one of the big three, but it was.
It really was.
Honestly, it wasn't just for people that say, oh, it was just for hardcore purists. No, it was for people that like real wrestling, gritty storylines, and actual amateur mat wrestling, suplexes, things that we hadn't seen in WWE for years.
The content in ECW was bar none.
Yeah. It was good. Like, where could you go see Mr. Hughes strangle people?
Yeah.
I mean,
where could you go to see Bam Bam Bigelow take a small guy, pick him up, gorilla press style, and launch him into the crowd and crowd surf him? Where could you see that?
Always wanted to see, but they would never do in a professional, WWE organization because of fear of, lawsuits, and they didn't have the loyal fan base that would understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't see like Tito Santana battling like Rick Martel and have like Rick Martel get thrown out of the ring and been body surfed. The kids would have just ran out of the way.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna happen.
But hey, pop quiz, hot shots. Who was the first true ECW heavyweight champion?
Was it like Jimmy Snuka, I think?
You're very warm. You're very warm.
Wait, it's
Who did Shane Douglas beat?
No, it wasn't Shane Douglas.
Oh, wait a second.
No. It's who he beat. When it was NWA East, who was it?
Hold on. Well, they had the tournament.
No, that's nothing to do with that tournament.
No, so what? It wasn't Extreme. You wanted the Eastern one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do.
Wait, I thought it was Snuka, but maybe it was.
You're very warm. What?
Oh, it was Morocco.
Don Morocco.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Snuka thing. I was like, it had to be somebody he fought.
I know. It was like, it was one of those guys. I mean, because they were like, it was weird. That was cool. I like that version too because it was like, they had the British Bulldog and like the Road Warrior Hawk, and they had a couple other guys. It was cool.
And this is just a weird theory, but doesn't it seem like the rise of ECW was kind of tied to the whole changing of the music culture? I mean, in the 80s, it was all, Hulk Hogan and hair metal, whereas in the 90s, it was grunge and ECW.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell WCW was sort of getting on that bandwagon.
But they're still more like a Southern promotion than anything.
Yeah, but if you really look at their music, DDP came out to Nirvana.
Later WCW, yeah.
Yeah.
91, it was still...
Oh, it was still country.
Yeah.
It was the good old boys.
That's another future topic I'd love to discuss. Would be WCW in the 90s and 80s. That I really would like to do that too next time.
But for now, we'll just stick with ECW.
Oh yeah, I mean, for future discussion though, that'll be a great topic. With ECW, it was interesting because it was just like there's really no set. When you watch the show, is very different. There's no like set. They didn't have like a guy come out and tell you what the match. No, it was just kind of like music videos and just random matches and Paul Heyman screaming, and it was cool. And Joey Styles, big part of the show. Mm-hmm. But see, here's what makes me mad. They say Joey Styles was like the first guy to like ever do. I don't know if it was pay-per-view solo or just play-by-play solo.
It was everything by himself.
But Gorilla
if that makes sense.
Do that too, though. I mean, I think he was better than Joey Styles, but whatever.
Wait, no. I really got to go back and watch some of those early, WWF pay-per-views. Because did he really do everything himself?
No.
No, Monsoon didn't. No.
Monsoon didn't. I I think Styles did.
Yeah, well, he did.
A lot of times he did. Yeah, he didn't have a coworker for years.
Yeah. But I think like Monsoon and some of those guys could have did it by themselves, and you would have been entertained just the same. Well, in a different way because it was different matches and stuff.
The only thing Joey Styles lacked was he could never be the guy that could offer in-ring expertise of how something felt because he wasn't a wrestler.
No,
absolutely.
Earl Monsoon had that experience. He could say, "Well, I was in the ring with so and so. I know,
And not to change subjects real quick.
Yeah,
that's what made Gorilla Monsoon so great.
I know, he was so good to listen to.
When someone would botch a move, go back and watch some early pay-per-views. When someone would botch a move, he had an amazing, scientific, legitimate way of explaining what happened, and you would believe it.
Mm-hmm. And it was just it was very like educational. Like he was just great with that.
And he wasn't trying to promote himself. He wasn't trying to go over and scream and make these legendary sound bites. He was just calling the match from an objective point of view and making his points in a very good manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Monsoon, one thing about him I really like too is he would just tell you if the match was stinking. He'd be like, this is a barn burner here. Boy, these guys really, really are not doing anything. It was just great.
Yeah, not compared to some other announcers, but I think we'll get back in that in another day.
Oh, yeah, that's another topic, too.
We can do announcers on a whole show just on that.
Who was that other guy, though? Like, he had a goatee, and he had blonde hair, and he had the Chris Schultz haircut.
Handsome Doc Hendricks?
No, he was in ECW. He was tan. He almost looked like Stan Lane, but he wasn't. Had a real thin goatee, blonde hair. He had the haircut like I have. And he was an announcer, too, and I don't know his name.
He's utterly forgettable.
Yeah, but I thought he was kind of funny, because they used to gag him and do stuff with him.
Now, see, I'm trying to... Was he a commentator?
Was a commentator, yeah.
He was a commentator. I gotta look.
Guy and everything, and I don't know his name. And I don't think a lot of people remember him, but he was there.
Beginning in ECW, I mean, we can look at the things they did good, the things that were bad, and the things that were just ugly to pay, some homage to Clint Eastwood.
Well, bad was the production value. There really wasn't any. I mean, the arenas were awful, the backstage.
Kind of an advantage, though. I mean, it kind of made it feel more gritty and realistic. Like, it felt like more of an atmosphere where these violent things could have happened.
But see, here's the thing, though. You didn't focus on that because Paul Heyman wouldn't let you.
No.
On TNA, compared to example, you do because they let you. That's the problem.
Sting getting thrown through a pink door.
Yeah, they make it look cheap. But back then, ECW, they wouldn't make you, really care about that, which is something they're lacking today.
Yeah. I know, I understand what you're saying. If you were going to do something in ECW, you were going to go all out and do that.
Mm-hmm. I miss that. I just miss that. Someone doing a flip and just pretending to annihilate somebody just simply, and it was. I just miss that. They don't do that anymore.
I mean, for people that appreciate storylines, the depth of storylines that people would go, they wanted serious psychological angles. I mean, whether people criticize it for being family friendly or not, I mean, they made you watch. You wanted to know what was happening. I mean, Tommy Dreamer and Raven when they brought, Sandman and Raven, when they brought the kid into it. I mean, it kept you on the edge of your seat.
That was amazing, Jerry Springer stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, ECW, I wouldn't take my kids to it, but I mean, if I was out with my friends, it was the kind of, adult-themed storylines that I would enjoy.
Yes.
Technical wrestling was born, none.
Because they brought in all those guys. They brought in Malenko. They brought in Benoit, Saturn, Jericho.
Taz.
Yeah.
I mean,
the thing that I loved was they would have technical wrestlers go up against high flyers, and it wouldn't be just a massive cluster. It would actually be a decent match. It would be a clashing of styles, but it would still look good.
I mean, compared to Japan and WCW, their technical guys were pretty good as well. I mean, that was pretty much. And there was some WCW guys there. I remember because Anderson was there for a little bit. So was Bobby Eaton, and so was Scorpio. Well, Scorpio was more than the other two, but they were there. I mean, there'd be a lot of great technical matches at that. On the cards and at that arena, they would bring in some great Japanese. Lucha Libre is a little bit down the line, but
Don't get me started on Lucha Libre.
Yeah, but
I got some problems. I got something to talk to about AAA.
Oh Lord,
those assholes.
ECW, and they also had that Johnny Smith guy from All Japan came in for a little bit. He was a good, technical guy. Furnace and LaFawn, they brought them in. So they had some great technical wrestling. They would bring in just people that you wouldn't normally see. and get exposed to it. It was just enjoyable to watch.
Plus, I mean, for the people that also wanted to see somebody getting busted open by a real honest-to-God chair shot, instead of one of the horrible padded chairs in WWE in the early 90s, I mean, it was great.
Where you bring the whole shoulder up almost, like up to the elbow, you tuck your head in there.
Mm-hmm. Just wind up and hit him.
And ECW was almost like a professional training ground for wrestlers, too, because if you were kind of sucking in WWF, they'd throw you in ECW just to, do something different with you, and then you come back like Al Snow.
Yeah.
I mean, he really rose to the occasion.
Bam Bam had a great resurgence.
And what I liked about ECW the most was the intelligence of the fan base. If you were sucking it up and you were having one of the worst matches on the card, they let you hear about it, and guess what? You didn't have a job very long in that company.
I always call it like the We Screwed Up organization, too, for like the wrestlers coming in. Because when like wrestlers would suck with the gimmick, they just go back to ECW, just be themselves. Like, I was never the executioner. I'm Terry Gordy. That never happened.
Steve Austin? What? I'm not a blonde. I've shaved my head.
There's just some funny gimmicks.
Yeah, Musketeer, prime example.
Who was that? I never knew who the guy was, though.
No idea. Don't care. Might as well just put it on his tombstone.
For having such low production value, they had some honest-to-God genius marketing ideas. I mean, they were one of the first to associate wrestlers with logos. I mean, you think Rob Van Dam, you think Yin Yang. You think Taz, you think the number 13, and that tattoo he had.
Sandman, can of Budweiser.
Mm-hmm.
See, he wore my pants too, the Zuba pants. You gotta love that.
Yeah, you would.
I used to pretend I was a Sandman when I was a little kid. I would put my Zuba pants on and just strangle somebody.
Tommy Dreamer did more for the sale of Janko jeans than anybody.
So bad for Tommy Dreamer. He's like your best friend that's still trying to get back into like the high school groove and trying to have you hang out like you used to, and it's just not working.
I just wish people would take advantage of his creative gifts and let him be in a writing capacity instead of forcing him to wrestle every night.
Yeah, it's time to hang up the boots, I think.
No, I don't. He can still go.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, he can. I really believe he can. I think we should talk about some ECW, the matches. Let's talk about one thing I want to mention about ECW is that look how it's being looked at in retrospect now. Like Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette is a big anti-ECW because what the ref, and this is his prime example. What did the ref do? Ref just stood there, looked like an idiot, touching himself and waiting for a 3 count.
Yeah.
And of course, if you look at it back in 96, 97, 98, as late as that, refreshing.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just, hey.
Referees weren't the center of attention. They weren't getting involved in storylines. They weren't screwing anybody out of belts.
Right. There was no bad referee. There was no. If you screwed up in ECW as a referee, I don't think that's ever happened. Could you imagine what would happen? I mean,
elimination is probably a good start.
Stand there and count to 3. That's all you got to do. If you screw that up, no one could screw that up. I don't think it's ever happened.
No.
Oh man.
It was. My point is, it was completely refreshing to see just a fight.
Yeah.
And everyone has that one match, that one rivalry in ECW that they remember. For me, Rob Van Dam against Jerry Lynn, the first match that they had, I mean, they just beat the living high hell out of each other, and it was great. Yeah. They used weapons as an extension of a good match rather than in place of one. They fought all through the crowd. People went through tables, and it was just the balls-to-the-wall wrestling. You never got to see him. And as much as I like Shawn Michaels and appreciate his effort, when he's fighting Vader, there's only so much you can do.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Chris, did you have a rivalry or a character like that you pretty much latched onto?
No, not really. I just like watching all of it, honestly. I love the high flyers. I love the technical guys. I love just, putting people through tables. I just enjoyed it being there, like knowing that on Saturday night at like midnight or 11 or whatever they threw it on, I could just watch it and just know it's enjoyable and this is happening and it's just cool. And it was just fun. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it did start to suck around 2000.
See, what I appreciated
Yeah.
most about ECW, though, was a character like Raven, because, I mean, here was someone outside of The Undertaker, so comfortable in his gimmick, so good on the microphone, that could bring that, level of evil and pull it off.
Imagine if Raven went to WWF and feuded with the Undertaker in like '98 or something. How awesome that would have been!
Or Stone Cold Steve Austin, because Raven was the only guy, similar size, the similar attitude, and Raven and Mankind. Even think about that.
Oh yeah,
they would have just ripped each other apart. And it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That's when they should have had like the Invasion. That's when they should have had the
and Raven could feud with anybody. I mean, he could show up, kick Shawn Michaels in the nuts, DDT him, because he's everything that Shawn Michaels is not, and it would be the perfect feud.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just 1998 was just a stellar year in general. Everyone was in their prime. So ECW, I think, probably their pinnacle was '98.
I would say so.
I think. I mean, everybody.
That was before they were rated for talent by WCW and WWE. That was when they had, somewhat of a decent amount of money. Year after they won the pay-per-view, people got their name out there.
Starred storylines, solid talent, solid television.
But again, with any company, they have weaknesses. And one of the biggest things I hated about ECW, and I'll be honest to say this, they would bring in all these people, former stars as teasers, and they wouldn't do enough with them. Sid would wrestle, you're expecting him to be champion, he's not. They'd bring in Rick Rude, never wrestled a match.
Yeah, and he died in ECW too.
Yeah, I mean, it was stuff like that upset me, because it was kind of just like being teased.
That, and I couldn't stand when you'd watch the show, the constant commercials and the constant promotion of their videos and stuff. And I know they had to do it, but it would just get old after a while. I'd be like, all right, there wasn't a lot of honest to God matches on their weekly shows. No. You might get 2 out of the week. It was
you would get 2 great matches, but out of an hour. Oh, jeez.
That pissed me off a little. I want to get some wrestling because
AWA at least had 3.
That's another. Oh my God,
that's a series. Watch out, Ken Burns in baseball. Watch out.
Another problem that ECW had was up until 1998, they didn't have any real competition. They had the corner on the market on the Attitude Era of extreme kind of storylines, and WWF decided, okay, we're going to go there. We're going to make things a little more hardcore, and it's going to give them a higher production value competition, which was a problem. Because it was more, names, more recognizable faces, and ECW didn't quite have that yet.
No. Yeah. They didn't even have decent TV.
And
nail in the coffin number 1.
Yeah, and a lot of the people they made champion, I understood they were great wrestlers, but as far as helping the company, I mean, put it this way, making Just Incredible champion over Rob Van Dam was not a good idea.
Mm-mm. I mean, I guess at the time they thought, well, they're trying to make him a top heel and stuff, but yeah, it's the retrospective type of thing. Yeah, it's whoops. Did what's his face? Did Carino ever win the belt? Steve Carino?
I don't believe in ECW.
He did. No.
He should have got it. But that's one of those things they just ran out of time.
He was a great champion in Major League Wrestling. Again, that really should be its own show on its own.
That will be as well.
MLW.
Yeah, that can be as well. Great War Games, Extreme War Games too, by the way.
The only people to legitimately, I can't talk.
It's okay.
The only people to legitimately do a War Games since WCW.
Yeah, definitely.
And the ugly thing about ECW was their lack of a legitimate heavyweight. I mean, they had Psycho Sid, they had Bam Bam Bigelow as their champion, and it really didn't get pointed out until they went on WWF in '96, and people saw how small these guys really were. And I think it kind of hurt them a little bit. It shouldn't have, but it did.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the big guys they tried to push. I mean, 911 was just god awful.
Yeah, I don't think he was as big as they said he was.
He had his contributions to the business, True. But him being a good wrestler to someone to say that you can really hang your hat on wasn't it. He was a great brute. He was a great goon. He was exactly what you needed to be a enforcer. Other than that, somewhat forgettable. Talk about 911 now in terms of Kurt Angle. Where would he rank there?
Yeah.
He wouldn't rank.
No. And Kurt Angle, the failure to get him, I understand, the storyline freaked him out. I'm glad they did the whole Sandman Raven angle, more than, but I mean, having Kurt Angle would have been such a huge coup for them.
Yeah. Well, I look at the crucifixion angle as, I think Angle was a little afraid to go into ECW.
True, it could be. So again, though, wasn't it kind of hypocritical for him to go to WWF when The Undertaker did the same thing?
Right.
Just about to say that. Sandman's like, that didn't bother him, did it?
And The Undertaker's a lot more satanic than Raven.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're worried about a whole Christ reference, I'm Christian. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I got news for you, folks. Jesus Christ wasn't the only person in history to be crucified.
No. Yep. There were thousands upon thousands, possibly a million crucified.
Possibly, definitely 100,000. Hundreds of thousands of people have been crucified. I mean, Spartacus?
He was crucified.
Along with how many other people along the Appian Way?
300 people, I believe.
Yeah, I mean...
Kiss reference, by the way.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think that's definitely one thing that makes me mad. When people get a little uptight about crucifixions. Oh, you're talking about Christ. No, I'm not. That was a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
And that is a horrible thing to do to a person at all. And I really get what Raven was trying to do to Sandman. Sandman would have came back. Because, we've had Easters since then. But, hello, is this thing on?
Oh, yeah.
He had Easters. There was Easters since he was crucified. No, nothing. Nothing from that.
Here's my thing, too. Like, about that, that is hypocritical. When I remember watching that DVD, that hardcore thing about, whatever you call it, it was on the Hardcore Homecoming DVD. It's like their version of WWE's version of the ECW story.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Sandman said the same thing, how hypocritical. It's like, it didn't bother you then, Kurt, when, Undertaker was crucifying somebody as well. But it's like, get over it. Yeah, the same thing happened with Jesus, we know, too. And millions have been crucified. Get over it, deal with it, it's not real.
Another thing about ECW that bothered me was that people that look back on it, they never had control over their own legacy. Like, whenever people would talk about it, even the people who were in ECW, they were too quick to talk about the hardcore. And that really wasn't what it was all about. I mean, they didn't have enough people explaining the technical matches, showcasing Benoit, showcasing Jericho.
Yeah.
And instead they went right to the weapon usage, and I don't think that was the right thing to do. I mean, they could legitimately prove that their technical wrestling was better than anything going on in WCW and WWF, but they never point that out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Good times. ECW was just... It was so funny because they didn't take themselves too seriously at times, and it was just fun. It was fun watching that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just enjoyable.
Well, then the wrestlers went out with a mindset of not just selling tickets. They wanted to go out there and put on a show for people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Very few wrestlers I've seen, can say that they do that every night. I mean, they have people talking about how they hold back just for pay-per-views, and they don't do things, in a normal match against Raw, or they don't do anything in a live show. I mean, even Van Damme confessed when he went to WWF, they told him to scale it back, and he did. He really wouldn't go all out. And
that's a shame.
I kind of find that a little hypocritical, honestly, and it's kind of upsetting because, I mean, a lot of times I wouldn't get the pay-per-views when I was younger. I'd watch Raw, and that'd be like my pay-per-view because I just didn't have the money for it.
Right, I hear you on that, and I was gonna make a point. With ECW,
it didn't matter what you were watching. They went balls to the wall every night, every match, every feud.
Absolutely. That's their legacy. You
right.
can watch.
It wasn't so much a squash match. It would be give and take, and the good guys would lose. They get beat up, they get hit, and it'd just be entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and the thing about compare it, I know WWE does this a lot with their on-demand section. Let's take a weekly episode of ECW, Raw, and WCW. what do you think would be the most entertaining? What do you think they put the most effort into?
See, to me, honestly, the one what I always go by, how many minutes of wrestling are in the show? Not how much is dedicated to storylines, how many minutes of honest to God in the ring wrestling.
You can really put that on ECW. I'll hang my hat on ECW on that.
I will too.
And that's their legacy. You could pick up any random ECW show on television, free television, and know you can get something special.
And the thing is, like with wrestling nowadays, WWE, I'm sorry, their Monday Night Raw, 2-hour show. You want to take a wild guess how many average minutes of wrestling they have?
I don't even want to know.
18.
I said I didn't want to know.
Anniversary show, the 3-hour anniversary one they had recently, 14 minutes of wrestling. That's an extra hour and 4 less minutes of matches.
Oh.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Hey, when you're making billions, that whole mentality is killing everything today.
Yep.
People, like, I'm a fan of video games, and you look at Nintendo. Nintendo would rather make a crappy game for casual fans because it's easier to make and easier to sell, rather than make a good game for hardcore fans only. That would be harder to sell. WWE is falling in that same rut easily, and it's going to take them a long time for them to crawl out. I don't think they're ever going to crawl out of that. They are still going to be just, oh, hey, look at these guys, they amuse me, but don't challenge me with anything, please.
The thing with WWE is it's become getting a good match is a rarity. Getting a bad match in ECW was a rarity.
Oh, yeah.
It's a completely different world, and that's what I hate about it, wrestling today.
What were some bad matches in ECW?
I mean, aside from Tommy Rich going out there and, way past his prime, I can't think of very many.
Mass Transit.
Yeah. he brought... Well, okay, that bad match in ECW. That horrible, unfortunate circumstances where a fan lied about his age, lied about his ability to wrestle, and got creamed for it, is legendary. It's the stuff dreams are made of.
We got to get him on. I wish we could find that guy.
He's dead.
Is he?
He died from I believe, a gastric bypass surgery.
Oh, wow.
Apparently he was one of the few people to actually die from it, even though it's a highly risky procedure. Because really, every single celebrity that gets it
lives. And nothing bad happens to him.
No.
He's had a bad life.
I guess, well, he did lie. And then he got decimated. I'm looking that up.
Nice.
But I mean, ECW did have its faults. I mean, a lot of that was due to Paul Heyman's financial inequities and horrible managing of money at times. Oftentimes spend money he didn't have, and he'd oftentimes take loans he shouldn't have, but he also forged professional business relationships that helped the company.
Yeah. Actually, I think the main thing, you can say whatever you want on what killed ECW. Say whatever you want. I think what killed ECW was overexpansion. They were trying to get on national television when they branched. Yeah, they branched all up and down the East Coast, from Fort Lauderdale to Toronto.
And they spread themselves way too thin.
Yeah, what about ECW in St. Louis, Denver, L.A.?
Attack the heart. Get those places.
Right.
Chicago would have been a perfect second market for ECW.
Were they?
Them in Philly, was
ECW ever in Chicago? I don't think.
No, not to my knowledge.
It probably. They were just losing their roster. They just, it wasn't working out towards the end. Money was always a factor, too.
I believe when you're talking about a company like ECW, having names isn't always really an issue. Because who was coming up in 2000? Styles. I believe Punk was. Daniels. I believe that the Indies is an unlimitless supply of talent. So
maybe not great talker. That's talent.
Yeah, I think you can always make that argument.
Yeah, they would have had that. I mean, that would have.
And honestly, if you had asked any of the wrestlers in ECW to take a pay cut, they would be the first ones to volunteer to do it.
Mm-hmm.
For the good company.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE wrestlers are like, oh, hell no, I'm going to WCW.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And work less.
Have fun over.
Yeah.
How ECW?
I mean, the genius.
All those guys took second jobs working for the company, according to Rise and Fall of ECW.
They wanted it bad, they cared. And speaking of caring, Terry Funk with a message for women.
Hey, he wants to see you drive up that lot with a smile on your face during Ford summer clearance days.
He did do so much for that company, though.
Yeah.
He really helped it out.
Yeah, he did.
Tons of stars. Great career there. Almost killed himself on several occasions.
Falling off ladders.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
choking himself to death with.
You want to talk almost killing yourself for your business. Sabu and barbed wire matches.
Oh.
Yeah. Almost choking to death.
Yep.
Don't die.
Having your bicep hanging out. That's love right there.
Fonzie, give me some tape. I don't have any tape. Fonzie, please work with me.
He was a risk taker. Do you think, who do you think were like the top probably crucial guys to ECW's success? Like, the top 5 guys?
Well,
I would think Raven.
We should make lists. I think Chris used to start off with your list.
Probably the top 5 guys that crucially made ECW. Well, it was Paul Heyman, of course. But, Terry Funk, I think Sabu Van Dam, Raven, and I think Tommy Dreamer really helped just put... Sandman too, but
yeah.
Those are the top 5 I think that really just helped make it.
For me, first and foremost, number 1 in terms of contributions, I have to say Raven. Just looking at the amount of feuds he was involved with, the amount of travel they got. How long he feuded with Sandman, Dreamer. Number 2, just because he was the most recognizable name, I would say Rob Van Dam. Number 3, I got to go with Tommy Dreamer. Number 4, Taz, because he was your legitimate steady world champion for a long time. And I'm going to go with a big guy at number 5, and I'm going to say Bam Bam Bigelow for, providing us with some of the weirdest moments ever. He was the one that Van Dam hit with a flip splash and the giant dive into the crowd.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I'm sorry, Chris, did you get your whole list out?
Yeah, those were pretty much my main guys. You could say Jerry Lynn too at the end and a couple other guys, but, for the most part, I would think... Terry Funk, Raven, Sabu, Dreamer, and Van Dam.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple other guys, give or take.
How about Rhino?
Yeah, Rhino. He's more towards, I think, the end. Him and Jerry Lynn and probably Steve Corino. Well, Michael Awesome, too, to some degree, but not much. Maybe like 0.1%.
We won't give him much credit.
Yeah.
Forget him. Well, my guys, I think at the top of the list would be Rob Van Dam. Because when you think of Rob Van Dam in ECW, one of the things you don't think of is injuries. No, he was very healthy. If he was a quarterback in the NFL, he'd be worth $1 billion. Really. He was champion for so long and he wasn't hurt? Are you kidding me? Wow. That's amazing.
30-40 minute match every night. Did a fast-paced match.
Mm-hmm. I think the second group of people should be mentioned. It should be the triple threat.
Oh, yeah.
Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, Bam Bam. Phenomenal. Those group of guys had it clicking. They were great heels. Phenomenal stuff. Third person on that list would be Tommy Dreamer. The ultimate underdog. We've established this before. I consider him to be a jobber, but he's a jobber with a purpose. Mm-hmm. He made you want to believe.
Well, he's on the same level as Mick Foley. No one remembers the matches Mick Foley or Tommy Dreamer win.
Yeah. But all those near misses, just, oh God, Tommy, why? Everyone could see themselves in Tommy Dreamer. Fourth group of people would be the luchadors, bringing an entirely new concept of wrestling to American audiences in the way they only could. The luchas. And then the fifth group of people, the Dudleys, for being unbelievable heels. Probably the best heels ever in ECW.
Yeah, they were universally hated. You're right about that.
They were amazing. And that's all you could say. And those are my top 5 guys that made ECW.
Nice. So you're sure that Salvatore Baloma did not make it?
I'm positive. I'm positive.
Who do you think really ruined ECW? Maybe top 5 on that.
Okay. Do you want me to start or?
Yeah. If you need to wait, we can wait too. If you want to go somebody else.
No, I'll do it. I think first person, top of the bat, Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he mismanaged ECW into the ground. You can't run a company and expect to do everything yourself. Ray Kroc didn't flip every hamburger in every McDonald's when he was alive, and managed to run one of the nation's, actually one of the world's biggest companies, along with managing the Padres. He didn't do all of that. He had people doing that for him.
Let's not forget, Paul Heyman decided to push, when they were running out of money, decided to push a video game and the marketing and the development of it. You don't need to do that.
Right. Even though I do own both copies of Hardcore Revolution, I'm still looking for a Game Boy Color version.
I have it for Dreamcast if you want it.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll pay for it. I think another person that killed ECW was, I think, just incredible. Yeah. Whiny heel that couldn't get over.
No.
Decent heel, but to me, just, oh God, just incredible. This guy's gonna come out and say a couple things, couple Pearl Harbors. I don't buy it. Mike Awesome killed ECW, hands down. Even before he was even given the title. You can't. You gotta wrestle. You gotta do both sides of the coin.
Right, and
you gotta get it as good as you give it.
And yeah, you have to put other people over. People that don't, they're just a cancer in the locker room.
Absolutely. I think I'm on person 4.
Yeah.
I will go as far as say, geez, I'm trying to think.
Eric Bischoff.
Oh, okay. You propped a good one in my head. Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Really didn't need to be there, and didn't really need to kick ass. He didn't really need to do all that stuff. The Dreamer. He didn't really need to tie anyone up and beat the hell out of.
He didn't need to dedicate time on his show to badmouth ECW and not give people a fair shake.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're trying to stimulate competition. If you're so afraid of stimulating competition, then you really shouldn't be competing. That's like the Steelers whining about how, these guys are too tough. Either you do it or you don't. And the King apparently never wanted to do it.
Mm-mm.
And my 5th pick is, I would say, screw it. I'm blaming Virgil. I just hate that guy so much. He was probably never in an ECW. I just hate him. Screw him.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you.
5. What about you, Tyler?
I think Brennan pretty much summed it up. I mean, if anything, I would say Vince McMahon running out of patience to prop them up financially after a while. And, I mean, I understand him and Bischoff's point of view. When you have this talent and the company's kind of on the wane, your fans and your stockholders are going to be pissed at you if you don't pull the trigger and get some of those people.
Makes sense. For me, it would probably be, Paul Heyman, Mike Awesome, the TNN Network.
Yeah.
They screwed them over a lot.
Definitely, that could be number 1, and then Heyman number 2, I think. So TNN, Heyman, Mike Awesome. Also, probably trying to think who else was there at the time that didn't really help. a lot of the promotion and who's kind of, I would probably say, probably Taz I would blame too for running away. I know Paul Heyman gave him his blessing and all that BS, but he shouldn't have jumped ship. He should have waited.
He still would have had time.
Yeah.
That's one thing we have in this world. We have time.
Yeah, you can't ever have enough time. I also blame the Dudleys at the end too because they jumped ship when they shouldn't have. And they were begging Paul to stay and all that crap. Just stay. Who cares? WWF's is going to be there down the road.
Right.
If you're shaky about promotion, you stay with the guys and you wait. So.
And if you were really worried about making a buck, go to Japan.
Yeah, I mean
they
got
will
deals.
pay you astronomical amounts of money in Japan.
Go to Europe. You can find work. If you're that good, you can find work.
Yeah. If you're that over, you'll find work. They'll come to you.
Definitely. Well, I mean, ECW has been crucial in professional wrestling and success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this has been a good discussion today.
I think we got a lot of stuff cleared up. I think we got a lot of stuff off our checks. I think now we can let ECW die to us. Yeah. I know I can now.
I can too. I mean, there'll never be anything like it, and I'd rather have it be dead than have somebody try to bring up something that's not going to be anything close to what it was.
Well, the only problem I have with it is they keep doing these reunion shows and stuff, and they're fine and they're good and all, but if you're going to do something with it, then, if they want to try to resurrect this in some kind of form and fashion, which I think they should just let it die now, but, they did have, with MLW and all these places, if they just would have got a great financial backer, and if they just would have, signed on some talent, well, I mean, they did, but, just more talent, things like that, they could have made this, go on forever, essentially.
One of the biggest problems I have with the reunion shows, it's always the same wrestlers getting older.
Yeah.
If you really want to carry on the tradition of ECW, have younger, fast-paced guys wrestle ECW-style matches on the tribute shows and have them kind of pay homage to that and show how they were influenced by it.
I thought the last ECW pay-per-view with TNA, that Hardcore Justice.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years. Those guys couldn't go. Easily the best one.
Yeah.
Because you got C.W. Anderson versus I'm sorry, excuse me. I almost said it. I almost said it. Too Cold Scorpio. You got that amazing match with Kid Cash and Johnny Swinger and Simon Diamond versus the FBI. Smothers can still... He went. That was a very entertaining match.
Yeah.
Raven versus Dreamer, that was insanely good.
Yeah. It's something they've always done. But...
It's a nice tribute show, I mean, some of the matches were a little slow, but...
They haven't lost a step.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything new, but they haven't lost a step.
See, here's my theory on this. If they all understand the success of this, they all understand that you could probably make a buck off this. Why doesn't somebody just say, hey, let's bring in some new talent, but let's use these ECW guys too, and just have a hardcore show? Like, what the hell is, so hard about this? Everyone understands, this product is hot. Everyone knows you can make a buck off it. Why doesn't someone just jump on this opportunity?
Yeah.
I just don't understand that.
The problem is the existing organizations won't change up their own thing in order to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They won't sign over full creative control.
If TNA saw this, why don't they just hire Heyman and give him his own show?
I mean,
hire, 2 words. Hire, I'll kind of miss 2. Hire Necro Butcher. I want Necro Butcher on television.
That's a new guy that they could use.
And the thing is, don't get us wrong. We're not just marks that only watch ECW. I appreciate the good things that have come from WWE and TNA. The problem is, they're just damn thin lately.
Yeah.
And we have to look to the past.
Yeah. You kind of have to live in the past because there's no damn future with what's going on.
And we totally acknowledge the wrong, the bad in the ECW.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just as important.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it was hard to watch. I mean, towards the end, it was hard to watch because they were starting to strip out all the hardcore elements and just doing wrestling. And, we're all about wrestling too, but we want to see what made ECW special. which was like the for, anything goes type of style.
I hear you. Absolutely.
Yeah. They were all copying ECW at the end, though. You could just tell. It's a shame, but that's what things in wrestling happens. People do copy ideas and gimmicks, and they try to make a buck off it. Vince McMahon did. Why not?
Mm-hmm. How many times?
Oh.
TNA copied off of Kane, God knows how many times.
Yeah, there's too many reincarnations of him too, which is a problem. Well, it's been a wonderful show. Thank you for joining us.
Oh God, this is our third best show ever.
Wow, hard to believe, huh?
3 in a row.
It just keeps getting better.
Good.
Thank God. Something has to.
Oh, I know. I mean, with this day and age, things are just depressing and sad. This is the only thing that we got going for us.
By the way, we're only in our 20s, folks. We're not really all that old. When we talk about the old days, they weren't that long ago yet. They're getting there, but
I would love to talk about the kayfabe days too.
Oh, that'd be great. This show could essentially go on for 60 years, literally.
Pretty much, because there'd always be somebody bringing up another point. Someone would say Scotty Anton, and we just get into a whole nother discussion.
Oh.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Evil mustache, beard thingy in the world.
God bless Scotty Anton, right?
So greasy, it scared me.
I'm done. I'm not talking after that point.
Done. Well, on that topic, I'm Chris.
I'm Peck.
I'm done.
The end. See you next time.